The unknown nature of what everyone is experiencing right now, and certainly we're not, getting a whole lot of information, so we basically have to go in psychically and remotely at this point.
Yeah.
I agree. Laughter, Kathy, is the best medicine. Yeah, it's healing. I think in Asian culture they have, I mean, it's ancient that they have actually laughter as one of their, wisdom methodologies in life. So
let's hope all that went through.
Earthquake 6.5 tonight in Idaho. Okay, that's a big one in Idaho, actually.
So today was the peak of some intriguing astrological transits. And I feel like, I haven't looked at a lot of the mainstream stuff today, but I feel like all in all, the day went fairly smooth for some of what could have been. And, I apologize if we scared anybody. I think on my channel, people are used to the emergency. I had a video that I titled that a while ago. It was obviously a play on the word emerge. But for Loudest channel, that might have freaked you guys out because you don't know my usual lingo. And then that it got pulled, that might have even been a little bit more concerning. But we
through what we've been able to ascertain, because as I said, they're not really giving us a whole lot of information, and it's in the last moment that we find out the changes that they're making, and everybody is in the dark. We've had to go in remotely and psychically just to find out and keep abreast of what's going on literally every day, and every day it changes radically. So this is a way for more information to get out there so that we can all have more of a foundation and not necessarily react to, the things that they're going to be planning and are planning in stages, which, the more that we can center ourselves through this all, knowing our own power, the more power we're going to be able to bring through.
Absolutely. Sure.
It's interesting, and I just want to say that there are a lot of people right now that are experiencing the passing over.
Yeah,
and
the crossing's going to start happening.
Yeah, and sometimes that is a blessing given the nature of the instability on all levels. And it may not be. It may just be a door opening that prevents them from having to go through more instability. Because if you can imagine being sick through this all, this global shutdown has just begun. So, and we'll get into that a little more.
I think that the flat earth following has a lot to do with the way that the matter is laid out. We have, the frequency fence, the firmament, the dome, however you want to call it, which gives us, we'll say round. It's not perfectly circular. I think they're both correct. Yeah. And I think there's more than just that.
Yeah.
I think there's also parallel earth. So depending on if you're utilizing particle earth or wave earth, they're going to present differently, and they're going to be perceived differently depending on what density you're perceiving through, if that makes sense. The hollow earth, absolutely. There is subterranean earth. I definitely know, this is a knowing, that Antarctica is one of the access points of the subterranean earth.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so much phenomena around that. That's why you can't get in. So I hope that
there is a definite key with how people experience the nature of this reality, and even how it looks, how you interface with it. So, and it is a multi-dimensional experience, because we're not talking 3D here. We're actually talking the ability to go through all densities and dimensions. In actuality, this is one holographic version, if you will. And that's part of the hijacking of this. It's become digitized, but in essence, nothing within the nature of reality is digitized. That's only how AI creates it, and how creators create in this dimensional layer. And there's many layers.
So I want to read, I hope I didn't lose your question. Okay, Soul Schooling Group asks, what do you think is the best thing to do as far as saving money? That's a great question. Well, I mean, so there's two things with this that I want to note, and by no means am I, super savvy to how to assist and sustain an economic system. So please know that in my own life, I'm not necessarily the best with money, but this is my 2 cents on that. I do know that when we stop spending money, it is detrimental to the economy. The big problem right now with the economy is because many of us have pulled out of spending. We're not able to go out to eat. We're not, nor maybe would we at this point, because, many people are out of work. So there's two things with this, because in one frame of reference, in order to have a successful, thriving economy, we need to be out there spending money. We need to be doing what we used to do before all of this happened. Though, take it to an individual level, and we're concerned about the money. We may suddenly have a very limited supply. So, from that perspective, from if people are moving into a scarcity space with their finances, cut everything that you don't need. Basically, any memberships, any subscriptions that aren't a requirement for your health. And I want to clarify that when I say your health, because your spiritual health is important. So I've actually subscribed to a monthly frequency transmission, because that's beneficial to my health. So for me, that's a part of the requirement. But I cut back on other subscriptions. Start cooking. Take away from things that maybe you were a little bit flagrant because you had that ability to be more lax. And please remember, you are creator source. You are a manifester. You absolutely can call in more money at this time. I definitely went into a scarcity when this started happening. And at this point, I would say this past month, I've earned more than I did last month. Which can sound kind of counter to what's happening on a more macro scale. I'll pause and let Lauda.
I was going to say that the situation with the currency, well, I hate to disappoint people, but they're using this to collapse the economy. Definitely. So it's not going to be about what our money situation is right now, because they are going to be using this as an excuse to level the economy and create the new digital currency, whereby they'll be able to control everyone much better. And with that, you're going to be looking at, they're going to be selling it as something good, and they're going to be selling it with initial money. It's just like Trump's doing right now, and so is Canada and all the other countries in the world. I feel like the current state of economic situation that people are experiencing right now, that isn't really going to be as bad as being converted into digital. Like, this is all going into that totalitarian state that they want to do, because this is only the beginning of what we're experiencing. So if you have something, then you need to be thinking about living in any way that you can off grid, personally, I think, because the less we give the government, the better. If we're in a position where the government can say that they're going to ration the food and that we need to be vaccinated for them to give us rations, then we are literally subject to them even more so. So the whole premise right now is to try and be as independent as you possibly can, and just be smart. I mean, have your intentions for what you need to live and create, but be smart and be ready for anything. And
yes, prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah, this is a platform for the AI takeover. That's right.
So we read the question out loud too when you see it. So because your people can read the chat, mine can't.
Okay, Hattie asks, is this worldwide collective fear an entree meal for the AI? Essentially, yes. I mean, it wants to create its own complete totalitarian, much more sophisticated version, which is inserting us into a much more interface technology, quantum reality. It's essentially what it wants to do, and that is what we don't want.
Can you show me where that question was?
There it is.
So I'm gonna read that out loud again so I can hear it. Is this worldwide collective fear an entree meal for the AI? Oh yeah, loosh, baby, loosh, yeah.
AI, and also the covens. It's also for the feeding families, like it's for.
Yes. And something I want to point out with that one is there is a very palpable, I know all of us can feel this, the mass consciousness fear mongering that's been building, because it's been building before this particular thing is happening. The Australia fire rituals started building it a while ago. There's been a lot going on, right? So on that regard, I just want to put out a loving reminder, and if any of us, I'm sure we all do, but if anybody doesn't know the NPCs, the placeholders, the soulless ones, the majority of the biological human vessels on this planet that are not souled beings, that are simply running the programming of the matrix, they're going to have a real strong foundational anchor of the fear mongering. And while we're empathic and we feel it, this is a wonderful opportunity to read the synthesized frequency signatures of the fear and work to dissipate, neutralize it, clear it. We don't have to play into that. And we can look straight at the fear palpability in the face and neutralize that out so that they can't access it for loosh. Super simple. The opposite polarity energetics is going to neutralize, right? And
it is true, Carlos, absolutely everything is source energy, and it is absolutely much more complex, because ultimately all of this is. And it's, you're talking about variations of creation, which include infinity. Essentially, that's what we're living. So if we know that, and then we know the nature of our creation and our life source of original source, we begin to be the alchemy that we are. And that is super important, because it isn't then about the AI. It's not about anything. You can use anything to transmute what you need to become the alchemy of all that you are. It doesn't matter what platform it is, whether it's synthetic or not, as long as you do not give yourself over. I always say the battle is in consciousness, right? If you're not conscious, then you can't do the alchemy. So consciousness and will and action. And we have to be the action of our will.
Yeah. So question, what will the splitting of timelines look like? How are the awake ones who choose to be sovereign not get mixed up or mixed in with the unsovereign? the unsovereign. We are all connected, and one of the greatest things we can do is to become whole, but I am not in agreement with so much of the BS going on. It's not easy sometimes.
No, absolutely.
You know, the splitting of the timelines looks like this. You're looking at it, you're living it. You're currently experiencing a fractured timeline. I really appreciate the term that Cosmic Agency used, a temporal knot. I mean, this is such an intriguing experience in regard to how many people, the whole world right now, is engaged in this. And there's currently, what, like 10 main storylines playing out. Yeah. Everybody has their own belief. Do you know how many different timelines that works to create in probability structures? It's really interesting. So you're watching, you're living in more than a split. This is a full fracture right now. Yeah. And from my perspective, that's one reason it's very important for us all, even in a general way, to get on board with each other in unity consciousness.
And to be very clear within the center of your being. I mean, this is the time to be very much within, discerning the difference between, as I always say, the spirit and the soul. The soul interfaces with everything that is, the program. So there is a difference. There is an absolute difference, right? The mind wants to think all the time, and it wants to take over mind, ego, and there's a place for the ego, there's a place for the mind, but it isn't the spirit. So now is the place to go really deeply, because every one of us needs to be inside the eye of our own needle, and we need to have that peace, right? That peace is vital, because if we don't have that peace and that guidance can't guide, our own guidance can't even guide us then, right? Because then you are being taken over by what the propaganda is of this whole matrix and what it's trying to do to you to override your spirit, and that's not what you want.
So, question. I'm 29 weeks pregnant. They just gave me a ROGAM shot, left a 2-inch X with purple dot in center. I've never seen this before. Thoughts? I don't know what that is, but what does stand out to me is the RH at the beginning of the ROGAM. Yeah. If that's the name of the shot they give to RH negative pregnant women, especially if it's your second pregnancy, there's the concern that if not, they'll reject. Your body will reject out the fetus. Think of it as like a foreign body,
so that it won't. Your body will act like the baby is an invader, and it will try to eliminate it. And
if that's what that is, though, I'm wondering if you're asking in regard to what they put into you. So first of all, hold very, very aware space that you command your body, and that you can collectively pool that, bubble it, release it. I love using the negative black goo as running that out of grounding cord, if you know how to run your energy. And I don't know what is safe to take and what's not when you're pregnant. I've never had a baby, though. MSM is a fabulous, I don't know if supplement's the right word, but you get it at the health food store to assist to heavy metal detox.
I don't know if you can do that when you're pregnant.
I don't know. You need to research that. Though for everybody in general, have some MSM on hand right now to assist to clear out any heavy metals you've taken in. Though, a lot of my clients, when they've been pregnant and or going back to timelines when they were pregnant, a huge piece was the way the mother felt at the time. So, if you need to work with forgiveness in that and hold space and trust, that's super powerful. I mean, you're quantum, so you supersede anything that there might give you synthetically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's based on everything that's already in you, and you can manipulate whatever that is to your own benefit. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she is RH
RH
negative.
negative.
Yeah, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. Yeah, Thomas, absolutely 100%. Shakespeare, whoever he was, really, was meant to write it. I mean, they've been talking to us about this from the beginning, right?
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we perceive is happening right now. We'll continue with the questions, though. I want to make sure we get on track to
Yeah.
probably what most people have come here in regard to current events.
Yeah.
So, as we've talked about before, if anybody doesn't know, then it's possible that in the next few days, especially in the US, the internet, the media, I don't know if they'll do the electrical grids. I think this is going to be more internet
And phone.
and any way that people can kind of communicate. I perceive this piece of the agenda as the Illuminati working to start to implement the arrests for the indictments that have been released. If you guys don't know about that, those indictments are public knowledge. And, you know, the Illuminati is utilizing this kind of cabal preemptive strike to move forward and take out some pretty nasty players.
Yeah.
So if they take down communications, then it's going to be more difficult for those that are getting taken, you know, and being arrested, which is a good thing. That's a really good thing, to not be able to communicate with those that maybe can give them Underground Railroad or anything like that. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, yeah, I think this is a multi-tiered operation that's going on right now, and even it's not that. I think we just have to be aware, because even with the arrests and this switching of the guard, we're still talking about the same powers in operation, essentially, right? It's the flip side of the same coin.
Yes.
So it's not, you know, the day that they won't be around, then we all be happy. Really, then we can govern ourselves the way we're meant to. We don't really need, we're not children. The whole premise of this is based on giving the power away, and these ancient covens basically ruling as custodians, or they think they are, but it goes beyond that, because their degradation resulted in a lot of harvesting, which is what, you know, the wars have all been about from the beginning, and any kind of culling of the masses.
Yeah.
All of and somebody did say about the earthquakes, there was a question about that earlier, about is there going to be earthquakes related to this all? And I feel absolutely, this is multi-tiered. I mean, this is, on the one front, we're looking at the earth politics grid, and then we're talking about the celestial events. We're talking about the events that are actually celestial and organic, and also the trinary system. So, you know, they're basically getting a head start on this all for their own purposes.
Yeah. So Q, for those who aren't aware, it's pretty clear at this point, you know, and if you need some pretty thorough reference, I know that Lauda doesn't follow a lot of, you know, external sources outside of her internal knowingness in quantum, though I do. And I want to say it right, Project Camelot, her name is escaping me right now, but she has spent decades receiving and being given information from a lot of whistleblowers, regardless of the reason all of that information comes out. It's very well researched, many times over information. Q at this point, and if people follow this and follow Q and also read the frequencies, it's very blatant and obvious to see that Q is the whole Trump gang. Okay, sometimes it's Trump. Sometimes it's a rebel group, I believe, out of Virginia. Sometimes it's John Kennedy Jr. But all of that is Trump, which is Illuminati. So in a lot of ways, you can bank on that information, but also know that a lot of that information is also given to intentionally mislead. So there's half-truths and half-fallacies in most things. So you have to know how to read it and how to decode it.
Yeah, I think I don't know anything about that. I just like I don't even want to talk about other channels actually. Just want to just say that. I just want to discuss more what we have been able to ascertain through ourselves, through our own psychic ability, through our, remote viewing, through the intel doesn't lie, the energy doesn't lie itself. So I don't know. I know a lot of these quote intel are intel operators, and they're either working for one side or the other or both, right? It's like representing both sides. So this is what we have to deal with, I guess, on the information front. That's why I just don't even bother with any of it. But I think inside us, we have literally the first channel into it all. You have to trust yourself, and you have to get good at trusting yourself and what that is, because then you will know, you will be able to follow the links to whatever it is that you seek, because it's in you already. And there's no separation. So
yes. And something to note, I do want to say this before, heard that you don't want to bring in other channels.
No.
So I do want to say one thing about this before we move away from that, especially right now. It may be more common with my viewers than your viewers. I don't know. But for people who follow channelers and people who follow a lot of people that get information, it's important to start to understand that a lot of people are given the information, even if they're given the information by way of psych, okay? The false synthetic telepathy. And they probably won't know that, so it's important to start reading the frequencies and to understand why are they being given that information, what's the agenda to offer that, up for, and know that. And I'm also aware, because I have clients or past clients who like to send me a lot of information that maybe they don't know I don't follow that or align with it, though I see it. So especially in the last few weeks, I've watched a lot of pretty, prominent channelers get hacked. So if you do follow many people, please really start looking into the frequency, because there's a lot of hacking taking over. There's a huge uptake in fourth density entities, energies, beings. And so in that regard, especially with the 5G, they can slide right in. So that's my piece.
It's a lot of good comments on here.
Okay.
A lot of,
you want to scroll back
great
down?
I'm just trying to keep up with
I know.
This is not easy doing. Like, it's great. It's a great platform that it's nice to see everybody chatting. I love it. That's awesome. And I'm new to it. So.
Okay, and we just have to read them a little bit.
And Dawn, you're totally, absolutely bang on. It's all about love, and there's no doubt about it. They don't want us looking at the sky right now. I don't think their chemtrails are it's not gonna work. They're not gonna be able to hide the things that are coming through. Like, it's just not gonna work. So I think it's all of this. As soon as you start getting that magnetism, you're going to start seeing the solar system tilting, literally, until finally you know, that release like an elastic occurs.
So Mandy asks, if there is a blackout, is there a way for us all to stay connected? So you guys, we're all etherically connected. We're all, man, oh man, do we connect and do tons of work in dream time. Oh my goodness. So
Yeah.
that is a space that I think it deserves always more and more emphasis, especially when you feel that you can't tap in or access. That might be consciously so, but you're tapping in and accessing a plenty and doing tons of work in dream time. And we have such a link in regard to quantum heart space right now, all of us. And so that space is well nurtured. That's a place right now that this possible blackout gives such a fabulous opportunity. I think Ivo, you were the one who said this to me yesterday, to go within, right? If that does happen where we have a blackout and oh my gosh, we can't watch our freaking Netflix and we can't look at our YouTube channels, hey, we can access, and you can guarantee we'll all be communicating, right?
And get your canteen or your lantern, your kerosene lantern out. Okay, don't rely on batteries either, because batteries don't last long.
Right.
Get something like the old-fashioned camping kerosene lanterns. Get your books out. You know, get the books that make you feel good, that bring you back to that remembrance of love and safety, and just firm the energies in that, right? Kind of make it a nurturing environment for you in that time. Make sure that you have whatever food that you need that doesn't rely on electricity, just in case they pull that, right? I know they may not do it this time around, but I know they are planning on doing that when they do go totalitarian martial law. They will pull all the electricity. They will absolutely do that for a time, just to make everyone super vulnerable, just as much as they're going to utilize the gas as well. They're going to not allow that either when they crack down. So this is in stages, folks.
Right.
We're seeing this in stages, literally. So don't think for a minute that it's all, oh yeah, we're just going to wait 2 weeks and we're fine. We're actually at the very beginning of this. And there's some, you know, now they're starting to circulate some news that, you know, can be very disturbing about certain places. I just had a video, actually Evie sent me a video today on Madrid, that there was a doctor from a hospital who was basically saying that they don't have any of the inhalers or the machines, the respirator machines. They don't have enough of them. So what this doctor is saying is that what they're doing is anybody over the age of 65 in the hospital that is compromised and suffering this, they're not being given the respirators because they're using them on people under the age of 65. And so what they're doing is sedating those 65 and over and then euthanizing them. And this doctor is actually talking about this. That's the first video, to my knowledge, that I've seen on that. So I am just saying that this is going extremely strange. And again, right, you don't shut down an entire global system for no reason. And it's not necessarily, it's multiple tiered here, but we need to be very wise all the way around. And we need to be able to have what we need off, just with the chance that we won't have electricity. You won't be able to actually use your stove to cook. Maybe just canned stuff, you know, whatever you need to do, just kind of do it and get it in place, because you do not want to be subject to the military for rations, and then they can impose on you the vaccine.
That's going to be earlier than
like
that.
Mandatory vaccine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Let's get into the Agenda 2130 agenda here as this, okay? Because it's important. I don't know who said it. I missed the question or the comment, though. The I do not consent.
Yeah, completely. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and the gentleman that stated that, hopefully I can find the question in here, or the comment. He just said the comment. But go ahead, you talk about that while I try to
Absolutely.
find that.
the whole, when we got ourselves into this situation a long time ago, because we consented, right? Because everybody gave away their power. And this is the big lesson here. The big lesson is that we can't consent no matter what. We have to be willing to stand for what's true and what is truly, truly right for us, not what is being given to us through fear, terror, manipulation, exploitation, blackmail, and all levels of, the hijacking that has happened. So we need to get into a different way of life and a different way of thinking. And the thinking has to be with our will and what we do consent. We are living, created beings. We say the spark of the all spark. We're not here to be dominated, suppressed, oppressed, objectified, and made into an enslaved species of any kind on any level, dimension, across any time, period, end of story.
Yeah.
So we need to be the living reflections of that, because if we are, I'm telling you, there's more of us than them, and they don't have any power. So this has to be the way of life that we live.
Ooh, Carlos, that's a good one. Matrix. It's a question. May I trick you? I love that. I always love seeing the new play on words that I haven't registered. So for those of you that don't know, Agenda 2130, Agenda 21 is a depopulation agenda with many different intricate things seeded into it that every country in our world has now signed off to. Okay? So that is something to take in. Move into mass forgiveness.
Ooh, that's a good one from Thomas. Fear, false evidence appearing
Yeah,
real.
I like that one. Christiana, give me the fear one again. Feeling excited and what? I ask her this. I never memorize it, but I'm always like, hey, Christiana, what is fear again? Another one I like is fear.
And Carlos, yeah, that
frequency, energy, accessing resistance. There she is, feeling excited and ready. Yes.
Yeah.
So Agenda 21 is
Carlos,
basically, right, as Bill Gates so publicly has stated, their goal is to get the world population, the dark cabal, the world population down to in the hundreds of millions. Okay. So some of the main junctures in which we're already seeing them lay this out is many of us understand that this, CV, the flu right now, is one form of a 5G implementation working with different types of synthesized viruses and with energetic weapons, basically, okay? Yeah. In Wuhan, we have not fully seen, but the videos are out there now, that was a culling, okay? It sounds like that's what Madrid's now experiencing,
yes, yeah.
Okay?
And Madrid's loaded with 5G, by the way.
Yeah. So there's this whole piece where that's a goal, all right? Now, again, that's not okay that they're working to do that. And remember, there will continue to be people that get taken out, they get taken down. But also remember, there is a larger game here, and there are a lot of NPCs. Okay, so now I don't say that lightly.
Backdrops, yeah, and NPCs too. Like they're both different aspects of the remote stimulation, right? And
I don't want to say that apathetically in any means. I don't believe at all it's okay to have any type of culling agenda. Yeah. The eugenics programs, no, we do not consent. We do not agree. Though we need to understand that this has been an agenda laying out for 20 plus years now, and this is what we're seeing, okay? Yeah. And because we're seeing that and are aware that that's what's happening, it's very important to access the I do not consent in self. So...
Well, they've been playing this out for more than 20 years. This has been a long, even look at the past 2,000 years, you can see that it's been going along in increments, and the past century has been definitely like full on.
Yeah.
Full on.
Right.
This is good point about there's no names. Okay, wait a minute. Who said that? Jolie. Why aren't they putting names to the victims? Totally, absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah. I almost feel like, and again, I want to send out love, and may you all rest in peace for those who have crossed against their conscious free will at this time.
Yeah.
You know, and
many mammals are going as well, right? They're choosing to go, and it's.
I mean, when's the last time you guys saw a plethora of birds or insects?
Yeah, like.
I mean, I have not seen insects in a while. Hopefully you live in areas where that's vibrant and happening. Though, you know, right now it's really, really imperative for us all to collectively come together in what it is that we do want to live for.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lauda was talking about this the other day. The self-governance is huge. Now, somebody mentioned that they want to go out and fight this. Please don't give the governments and the militaries a reason to validate why they need to implement martial law.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that's one piece that will bring it in really quickly. Conscious societies, conscious species, they don't activate wartime unless it's imminent. All right? So
we don't want to feel that.
Exactly. This is very important at this time. And we're also in a place where things haven't played out. It hasn't fully anchored. We have a lot of capability to access the DNA awakening right now from the age of Aquarius. Another reason this is happening right now is because we're awakening so fast. I mean, I'm willing to bet most of you have somebody in your life you never would have imagined would be saying and thinking the things they're thinking right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of awareness to be cultivated at this time, and it's important that we put at least as much focus on that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe I feel like this has happened a little bit sooner than it was supposed to, and I do feel that has something to do with not only people's consciousness. With consciousness comes power, right? Stepping into your quantum ability, your infinite ability. And I think, you know, that changes the fabric of reality itself. So, you know, I think this is definitely a combination of all of that. And also it is going exponentially rapidly. So.
Yeah, I like how Beth, she says she's got the honeybees in her neighborhood and she puts out boiled sap for maple syrup. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Nice.
I love the honeybees.
Nice.
I saw this wonderful, I guess it's called a water dish. You know how we can put out a bird bath?
Yeah.
You can do a really shallow bath with marbles in it for honeybees. And the smaller flying creatures, they're amazing and I love them. And so,
what's the process of alchemy? Let's just say it like that.
The system has to fall for something new to erect. Okay? It doesn't have to play out with the cabal desired. We have a prime opportunity right now. We have the quantum. They have the desired antiverse, you know, to use Lauda's words, that they're working to bring in. We do not have to let it happen in the way that they desire. And it's imperative that we wake up to what is playing out, how we do have access in our being, and how we can assist it. There is physical action. There is energetic action. There is mass requirement of forgiveness and integration of the entire game and all of the expressions of all of our different aspects that play part in this game.
And there's also something beyond this. And this is something that I will get into because I said I would reveal a lot of all of this, which I've been shown. And this isn't the platform for that, but there is something higher happening here. Okay. What is the original father and the mother? Okay. Their hand is on all of what is happening. And ultimately, it's about that and the refinement that is going to happen and is happening, has been happening, which it is the alchemy of the infinite verses. Okay. And that is what we need to look at, because there is an imbalance that has caused the inverted version of a verse.
Yes.
It's no longer that verse.
Yes.
That cannot be allowed to happen, because that imbalance is causing an imbalance in the entire infinite system of verses. So this higher loving hand, okay, knows what it's doing, and we are part of the emanation of that. And I will go deeper into that.
That's such a fabulous point. I think I had a wonderful Divine Masculine Day a couple days ago. I think 2 of my favorite Divine Masculine clients I got to work with on the same day, unbeknownst to them, they scheduled. And both of them were talking about, on their own accord at different times, how we got into a lot of us, as you know, a lot of us term ourselves the awakened ones. We know that there's a piece here that's really exciting, because it's why we're here. This, more than any other time for many of us, it's super palpable that, oh yeah, this is it. We're here for this, right? And the more we have access to the expansion, instead of having this limited view of what's going to happen in our human life, what's going to happen on our world, what's going to happen in our solar system, as Loud is saying, this expands out beyond the universe. This is something that is, you know, Lauda knows more than me on that regard, though I feel, for me, I tap into an understanding of so much more happening beyond our galaxy that is imperative and critical, and how many different aspects within my soul grouping are assisting in the ways that they know best of how to ensure this moves forward and shifts in a way that's for highest alignment. And that is the piece to have a lot of trust and faith in, because a lot of it on a smaller micro level, when we're looking through a microscope, you know, we can only see this little sliver, and it can be a not very fun sliver. You know, Stephanie is asking, and hi, Steph, you know, is there anything positive about what's happening? Or is it all this positive false new earth, still the matrix, part of a false white light? And so that's exactly, if we pull our perspective out more macro, we see wonderful, wonderful things. But if we have our perspective limited to just, you know, the experience that maybe our bank account has dropped to nothing, or, you know, we don't know what's coming, or is the blackout going to happen, it can feel very scary.
And yes, the fire of refinement means it's a fire. You go through the fire to be refined. The alchemical process is not an easy one, okay? But this is where life and evolution and truth happen, and that's where the convergences happen, okay? This is a multi-complex, I mean, we're multi-complex. We've experienced, and within us is everything and nothing at the same time. Pretty complicated. So, but this is more to give people grounding, okay? So there will be a time for everything else. We know that this is in stages, all right? And we want to be able to give you a grounding, a foundation, so that you feel peace and you are within your power, and that you can start living that power in your choices as all of this happens. I mean, we have to live like that anyway, whether this happens or not. And I think this is teaching everyone what our sovereign will is, what it is to be your own created being, with your own consciousness, with your own will, with your own action. This is teaching everyone. And I know everybody has this term awake, okay? And I get it. But nobody's awake, okay? Nobody is actually awake. People are beginning to rouse out of a deep coma.
That's a good way to put it. I love that. Rousing out of a deep coma.
Yeah.
A few of you have said, Love Light said it, Pluto conjunct Jupiter and Capricorn right now. Yes, today is the peak of that, right? So there's a lot of energy, a lot of check the Schumann spike right before we popped on.
I was like, what?
What's happening?
The second it hit, I was like, what? And then when Chloe came over, I was like, okay, so it
talking about Saturn and Jupiter conjunct 12/21/2020. This year, that's a pivotal conjunction too. There's, we're in the, astrologically speaking, this next 7 years, 10 years, the technological revolution. Yeah. So our planet, and it's why they for the inversion, it's why they pick Agenda 21 and Agenda 30, because 2021, by that point, there's huge astrological transits that play out. By 2030, there's a complete restructuring of our system.
Yeah.
They want to steer it in the way they want to steer it, and we're going to steer it in the way we're going to steer it. So there's so much happening right now. And I do think that it's important to utilize astrology as the astrological energetic weather report.
And remember, all of their technology, it doesn't matter how sophisticated it is and the technology that they're, keeping for themselves, it's based on us, okay? We're their model. Only we are the, steroid version, quantum of it all. So we are it all.
Yes.
And yeah, you can do what you want with the
We're
energy.
nature and they're the pharmaceuticals. They always mock off of nature, right? And then they invert it.
Thank you. Regarding Wi-Fi, we are more shielded, protected the more we meditate, since meditation also expands our personal Taurus field, correct? Absolutely. Meditation, prayer, okay? If you want to call it meditation or prayer, definitely, because you center into the center of your being, the column of all that you are, right? The infinite point of all of that which you are. And that's when you can actually concentrate your energy so that you are intentionally learning how to feel more, learning how to protect yourself, learning how to be in spirit, right? Spirit body. I always say this is about the marriage between the spirit and the body. So yes, you don't want to be in the mind and in the reactive field, because that will fuel the fear and the chaos.
Now, also, Kat, 5G doesn't have to play out in the 5G is a blanket term for many, many different gigahertz ranges. Right. And it most likely will not play out on our platform as the worst. Mandy, and you'll explain this much better than me, asks, who is the father?
I will definitely get into that, but you can say that the father is in original creation, at the very beginning of all that there is. We are the emanations of that. We are literally the living sparks of the original fire, okay? So the father and the mother are the original, where everything emanated from that, where we emanated from that. And within us is the father and the mother, okay? So I will get deeper. Will there be any kind of alien disclosure? I think there's been alien disclosures all along, but I think you mean, will there be a government alien disclosure where the Vatican and the government,
Freudian slip!
No, on purpose, because they're the Vatican,
down,
exactly,
baby.
but that the Vatican, aka government, it's all connected, right? These are all. So they're going to play that card. Absolutely, they're going to play that card, because I don't think any of this is going to go exactly the way they want it to go. So they have that card ready for disclosure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
it's going down. You just, once we get all these indictments out of the way, guys, that's going to be a happy day. You know, Stephanie, you're asking about something point blank that's positive. That's positive. They're getting some nasty, nasty players out of the way right now. And for any of you who haven't seen it, if you lay the COVID infection map over the indictment map and over the 5G map, it is a match. Okay? Yeah. So I'll just say that.
Hope you're being led into a different kind of, quote, farming area. Basically, that you think that you're going to have liberty and freedom because that you're going to be disappointed. Like I say, this is the same governing body and family, essentially. Okay, they're just removing what has become very obvious now. They cannot keep those, quote, players.
It's the same family,
but it's the same family. So it's just, the whole world has become aware of this this issue, and they have to do something to maintain the power and make it look good. But we're still dealing with the same kind of, it's still their aim is a totalitarian rule, guys, and this is not good either way you slice it.
Yeah, I mean, on my channel, I talk about, you know, in regard to the Anunnaki agenda, the transfer goes from Enlil to Enki right now. It's the same family, different brother, right? From another mother, literally. Let's read Ivo. I would like to. Ivo asks, how would you define service to others in this transition? Feels like it will not be so much physical as much as ethereal meditation.
Well, I think, you know, we're going to be provided opportunities to help in many ways, especially now, and they will come to you, and it will be all of the above: physical, etherical, in meditation and prayer, in loving support, and maybe even in rescuing an animal that needs it, right? Rescuing a person, whatever. We're going to be doing all of the above. It will, you know, these are appointments of spirit, I call it, that we were going to be given appointments in spirit to be able to do something fantastic for one another, including animals. Okay, because let us not forget them.
Yeah. You know, and right now,
and people,
I think I vote, you know, service to others. I think you're doing it. We talked about, you know, yesterday, was it yesterday? 2 days ago?
I don't even know time. Don't know time.
Yeah. That, you're caring for your family right now.
Yeah.
That's service to others. And we're all a family. And because we all have hope and peace in our heart, that's service to others. And most of us can't quantify that, though it's immense. That experience in our being of knowing and feeling our trust and our safety is serving the all that is in a really, really big way. It's why they work so hard to counter it. I mean, just us having that unconditional love in our heart is immensely powerful. It really is. And I don't want to say that in that like, oh, false love feeling, but it is. It's super immense and powerful.
And we must go through this transition. We must go through this all with love. Okay, with that original knowingness in love, essentially. And yeah, absolutely, this has to be cleansed. This all has to be cleansed, and it has to be purified. And there's no two ways about it.
Yeah. I forget Carlos, you said this doesn't have to be, I'm paraphrasing because I don't see it now, but I read it. You said it doesn't have to be a harvest, aka doomsday. For me, when I look at harvest, I look at, there's a lot of souls that are leaving now, and they're going to keep leaving. And that term harvest is probably the Dark One's term.
Well, I think it can be like farmers harvest the wheat when it's time, so that's a good harvest versus a bad. So I think it can mean either, right?
Well, I'm not sure where you're coming from, Carlos, your perspective, but the way I was thinking of it is in regard to the harvest of the souls.
Well, there's no easy way going through what we're all going to be going through, okay? There just isn't. If that was the case, we wouldn't be stuck and trapped in an inverse. And, essentially, this is a big lesson on how to create with your own creative ability and how to not create with your unconscious, subconscious fear, because that has contributed to all of what has been created and been used against us. So there is no easy way around it. There's no easy way around alchemy and transmutation. And we are going through a transmutation, and we are alchemy. Okay. A lot of people are realizing that life and creation and what you're doing is alchemy.
Mandy says they left out the mother, haven't they? They inverted the mother, didn't
Yeah,
they?
absolutely. Absolutely. Very good. Exactly. You got it. And it's the father and the mother's way. This is the way of the father and the mother, and all the children therein, and all creation. So this story is a mass story, and parts of it, have to be refined through fire. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy. None of this experience here is easy. Even the beautiful parts aren't easy, because we're still dealing with a system, an inverted system that has edited your genes, introduced disease, death, you name it. Okay. You can see the most beautiful thing, and you're still watching various aspects of it that suffer, right? The yin and the yang here. This is all what it's ultimately a love story, okay, from the father and the mother. And it's our own love story to ourselves, because along the way people have forgotten. And then this is the whole point of why you have an entire realm of forgetfulness. And now people are just starting to remember.
Fahad asked, where are you from?
Me? Well, I was born in Spain, actually. I was born in Spain and then came to Canada. So,
Kathy, you asked, at what point will the Federation intervene, or will they? I'm willing to bet Loud and I have different views on that. You want to take a...
Well, I mean, the Federation has been involved from the beginning, and there's various aspects, multitude of councils, a multitude of galaxial alliances that have been working for us and with us from the get-go.
If you're asking when are they going to come and land and show themselves, then again, it depends which one are you talking about. And the ones that I'm willing to bet you want to come, they wouldn't come, in my perspective. They wouldn't until if it got to a point where again, as you word it, the undue harm goes so far beyond the law that the game is threatened to shut down. And then they step in.
Well, they can't come in, okay? They can't just come in and do what they have to work within the law, okay? And the law is very clear that they don't just come into the realm of Terra and start doing whatever they want with people's wills. They don't. They must do it from an outside perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's about honoring the sanctity of everybody's will. Mm-hmm. That's the first law.
Yeah. And the ones that are able to access just outside of the frequency fence, you know, they're in their own version of Matrix too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the federations that get communicated and channeled that have a lot of karma around this whole experience, and are not the ultimate, you know, guardian groups.
So Kat asks, what do you think of all those ET crafts parked around the sun will do? Like, absolutely, there's so many of them. It's crazy how many there are. There's so much activity, but look, they all know what is happening celestially here. They all know about the trinary system that's come in. They all know about the convergence of the event horizon. There's, you know, if you want to look at it in the sense of the verse, the infinite verse this is a massive, unique experience that everybody will be experiencing. So time isn't time for them. When they're parked out there, they're not experiencing time the way we are. So this means that, yeah, they are like parked, they're ready, and this is a huge event.
Yeah.
There's definitely been messengers along the way from the beginning that have imparted a lot of important information to prepare everyone. And this is something that comes in many different flavors and colors.
Well put. you practice bringing it across very eloquently a lot of it. Okay.
Carlos asks, if you have a soul, you can surrender it to the matrix becoming energy. Yes, absolutely. And that's the problem, actually. Everybody has the choice and the will and the sovereignty to give up their sovereignty, will, and choice, and life force and essence, essentially, to anything they want, actually. It doesn't even need to be the matrix. It can be anything. Yeah. Carlos, very good.
So lovely. Will life be more difficult, harder, more suffering from now on in 3D? Will we have a chance at prosperity, or are we going to be on defense mode from now on? You know, I think right now it's important to understand we're past go time, guys. Please do what you can to, and I'm serious about this, we both are, to have 2 months of prep.
I would say more, actually.
You know, if it's possible, it's not always possible, right? Though just be aware, as we stated in the beginning, you might not have heard it, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah. Just be prepared, because you don't want to be caught off guard. And just, you know, let's just talk on a 3 density level right now with this. Economically speaking, what's happened super quick cannot bounce back in the same way it went down. So yes, in that regard, economically, we're already suffering, and we haven't seen what has already happened play out. We haven't seen the consequences of the economy yet. It takes time for that to roll out. Yeah. So it doesn't mean your spirit has to suffer in that regard, though in regard to that 3D economic material life, it's going to be, you know, what us, you know, first world people would deem as, yes, more difficult. Absolutely. And I don't say that to be all hum and glum. Let's be realistic. In that version, we need to prepare and plan.
Yeah. I would say more than two months ago, because you can't have a collapsed economy worldwide, a pandemic at the same time, and the government going, like, cracking down with, you know, absolute martial law and everything else mandating. You can't have all that without potentially an immense amount of disruption. So the more that you can prepare, the better. The more.
Mm-hmm. 2 of you have brought up the earthquake you just had in Idaho, 6.5 earthquake. Haven't had that in 37 years. Thank you all for coming on. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your donations.
So for those that are interested in the private group, please email Chloe or I, and we will get a date and a time for that. And there will be a fee for that. We wanted to give this like we said, in the platform for everyone, because time is very compressed right now with everything that, and there is a huge escalation occurring, and we want to give all of you as many tools as possible. There are, and that too would be appreciated. And we will be updating you further on what we are seeing and tapping into as well.
Ivo says, "Can we have superhero names as we enter into this new galactic war?" Ivo, I feel like your name already is superhero. Ivo to the rescue.
Yeah, I do too. We thank everybody, and
thank you so much, guys. We love you. And again, remember, if media internet blackout commences starting tomorrow or in the next week or so, keep calm. Know it's okay. Read some books. Tap into your inner being. And we'll all reconvene and connect.
Yeah.
You know, that's predicted to last anywhere from 3 days to 10 to 12. So
yeah, and you know, Kathy, you say it's about equipping people as much as possible without shocking anyone, right? Because we're all experiencing this, and it doesn't matter how much knowledge that you have.
Yeah.
It is shocking to everybody.
Yeah.
So even with the knowledge, it's equally as difficult. So this is something that we're all going through.
Kathy, that's strategic, actually. I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Because as it's obvious to see right now, the shock and the fear and the PTSD of the cognitive dissonance dissolving as this is happening on a global scale. More, you know, when people access what I'm going to term more advanced metaphysics, there is a mass trigger point. Yeah. There is a massive dissolving of cognitive dissonance. And we have to take care with that, especially right now, since that's already happening on the mass scale. So to add to that piece that brings in more triggering isn't necessarily efficient right now.
No.
So I just want to clarify that was intentional, Kathy, and that was benevolent.
Yeah. And Hadi, you're absolutely right. The new predators are shaking for sure.
Ooh, yeah, shaking the booties.
They're all big time shaking. Peace and grace be upon every one of us, right? And love.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.